So today I'm taking a look at a fun new flashlight from Sofirn. This is the IF24. Let's check it out. And this is everything the IF24 comes with. I'll give you a close-up of the box. Pretty cool product shot on the front. Lumens on the back, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. In this bag is a lanyard and a couple spare O-rings, a Type A to Type C charging cable, and the user manual. But let's put all this off to the side over here, and I'll give you guys a close-up of the new Sofirn IF24. And you might be wondering why I call this a fun flashlight. Well, let's start here. It's a multifunctional flashlight that has both a spot mode, a flood mode, and RGB lights. And what makes it fun for me is all that wrapped up into one body with a pretty intuitive rotating dial right here for the UI. But before I get into all that stuff, let's start going over some of the specs. So it has a maximum output of 2000 lumens and a maximum throw of 251 meters. It has 5 brightness levels plus 3 special modes, strobe, beacon, and SOS. Plus there's a bunch of RGB modes that are mostly gimmicky in my opinion, but there's a few that I think make this flashlight really stand out. And it features a spotlight mode through the main lens right here and a flood mode with these cob lights right here on the side of the flashlight. And I'll give you a close-up of those cob lights right there. So the 2 strips on the outside right there are 22 CSP 1313 LEDs with a color temperature of about 5000 Kelvin. In that row dead center are 15 FY 1615 RGY RGB LEDs. So obviously all of your color modes are going to be right there dead center, and your white lights are going to be on the outside rows. So those white lights are going to be your flood mode, and your spot mode is going to be a single luminous SST40 right there. And I'll try to give you a close-up of that luminous SST40 right there. It's sitting back fairly far within that reflector. And while we're here at the head, you can see there's basically no striking bezel at all. It's just flat across right up there. And all of those brightness levels are controlled with a single side switch right here that has a rotating dial surrounding it that changes the actual modes. So right now I have that dial set to lock right there. So it's locked out completely. Can't do anything with the flashlight. But if I rotate that dial once to the right, it activates the white floodlight mode. Turn the dial once more to the right, activates RGB, and one more activates the spot mode. And that luminous SST40 has a very cool white color temperature, as you can see right there. Now, a little bit later on, I'll take this outside and do a beam demonstration, but first, let's get through these features. But regarding this rotating dial, it is one of my favorite features of this flashlight. It is just so simple and easy to activate all of the different modes here in the IF24. But I sort of wish it had one extra little feature. So if I turn it to lockout right here, I sort of wish it had a little notch right there so I can easily feel it with my thumb. It's not a huge deal, but if I'm outside with this, messing around with it, I want to be able to feel the exact location of that lockout and twist it there instantly. And I feel like a little ball or a notch right on the lockout button, where is it right there, would absolutely do the trick. And the body here feels pretty nice. That is a 6061 T6 aluminum body. And the IP rating on this is 66, which is decent in my book. The first 6 means it's completely dustproof, and the second 6 means it can withstand powerful water jets hitting it from any direction. That 6 in the waterproof rating means it's as high as it's gonna get without being completely submersible. If it was a 7 or 8, that means you can drop this and submerge it in water and it will be completely fine. This wouldn't be completely fine, but it's as waterproof as it's going to get without doing that, if that makes any sense. And I'll give you a look at that USB Type-C port right there on the side that's covered with a rubber flap. And let's take a look at the battery real quick. So take off this cap. This cap is magnetic, and I'll demonstrate that a little bit later on. So this is a Sofirn branded 18650. That's a 3000 milliamp hour, 3.7 volt lithium ion battery. So this can be charged, like I said, with the USB Type-C charging port right there on the side of the flashlight, or if you have an external slot charger, you can also charge it that way. And one thing I really like about the IF24 is it has a dual spring system for that battery. You can't really see inside. Hopefully you can, but there's a spring down there at the head and another spring right here at the tail. I love dual spring systems. If the light ever gets jostled, that'll help against any unwanted lighting flicker or any light loss from that battery getting moved around in there. So that's very, very nice for me. And let's take a look at this steel pocket clip right here. Not quite deep carried. It's about a ½ an inch from the tail of that flashlight. So this is a lens down only flashlight. And it is a split ring removable pocket clip, as you can see right there. It doesn't come with the holster. So if you want to carry this without it just flopping around in your pocket, you're probably going to want to leave this pocket clip on. And after carrying this for the last few days, I can tell you that it carries very, very nicely based on the shape here. When it's in your pocket, you can see the flat side is resting against you. So it's a very comfortable carry in my opinion. But because this power button is also resting against you when it's in your pocket, that makes this rotating dial right here to easily lock out the flashlight that much more important. Just easily set it to lock, put it in your pocket, and you have no worries about this accidentally activating in your pockets. And the last thing I wanted to show you was the battery life indicator right there is glowing green, so I'm at 100%. And since it's locked out, all you have to do to see your battery life is just hit that button. Shows your battery life, super quick and easy. And that is a boot up battery life indicator. So you can see as soon as I turn on the flashlight, it will go on, but it'll go out after a few seconds. There we go. All right, let's go over the lumens and runtime. I'm gonna start with the spotlight mode. There's 5 brightness levels plus strobe, SOS, and beacon. Moonlight is 1 lumen and has a runtime of 20 days. Low is 10 lumens and has a runtime of 115 hours. Medium, the sweet spot, is 150 lumens and has a runtime of 13.5 hours. High is 700 lumens and has a runtime of 2.25 hours. Turbo, the maximum output of 2000 lumens and has a runtime of 1.5 hours. I haven't tested that turbo runtime yet, but I will test that in this video to see if it can at least last 2 minutes. And then strobe is 2000 lumens, SOS is 150 lumens, and beacon is 2000 lumens. I'm not a big fan of that 150 lumen SOS, but I guess the 2000 lumen beacon makes up for it. If I'm in trouble and have to use an SOS, I want that to be as bright as possible. If nobody can see your SOS, what's the point? Now for the side flood mode, all of the lumens are exactly the same with Moonlight, Low, Medium, High, and Turbo. Except some of the run times have changed. In Moonlight, it's still 20 days. In Low, it's now 58 hours. In Medium, it's 12 hours. On High, it's 5.5 hours, and Turbo is 3.5 hours. And I can't find any lumen output information for the color modes. They just have listed a runtime, and it just says 30 hours. But on the screen right now, I have a graph of what's in the user manual, so that's what you guys have been looking at. So you can basically look down and see all the Candela information and all that good stuff right there. And I know I went over the UI very quickly, but let's talk about it a little bit deeper here. So right now I have it locked out, but if I turn it once to the left, it automatically activates spotlight mode. And when it's in any mode, if you want to turn it off, just hit that side switch, turns it off. One more press turns it right back on. And yes, anytime you rotate this dial, even if it's off, it'll automatically turn on whatever mode you put it in, as you can see. I can't say I'm necessarily a big fan of that, but I'll get to that when I talk about my negatives at the end of this video. So turn it once to the left, activates flood. Press and hold to cycle through the 3 cyclable lighting modes, low, medium, high. Turn it off. Hold down that button for the 1 lumen Moonlight, and then turn it off. Double press for the 2000 lumen Turbo. Double press again for strobe. Double press again for SOS, and double press again for the 2000 lumen beacon. So the UI here is super easy, super straightforward. I'm a big fan of this UI. So that's spot mode. Now let's go back to flood. I just rotated the dial 2 to the right where it's on the floodlight mode, and that's what it looks like right there in the dial. And the floodlight mode basically has the same UI as spot. Turn it off, turn it right back on, press and hold. 3 cyclable, low, medium, and high right there. Turn it off. Press and hold for Moonlight. Right there, 1 lumen Moonlight. Turn it off. Double press for the 2000 lumen Turbo flood mode. That is pretty bright, actually. Now let's talk about these RGB modes right here. So as soon as you turn it over to the RGB mode, it automatically goes to a red light. And I think that is a smart choice, and part of the reason why I like this flashlight so much. Now, don't get me wrong, I think a lot of these RGB modes are very gimmicky, which they are, and I wish they would go away. But the fact that it goes right to the red right here, I think is really smart. Plus, when I double press this button again, it goes right to a flashing feature. So once again, I think that is a very smart choice from Sofirn. As soon as you put it over to the RGB, goes right to red, double click, it goes right into an emergency setting for your car if you're outside. I think that is fantastic. And in all reality, makes this one of my favorite flashlights to keep in my car for emergency purposes. So now I'm gonna start talking about the gimmicky, useless RGB modes here. Double click again. It's gonna take you to the police flash. Double click. It is a rainbow cycling rainbow effect. Why? Double click again. That is an RGB waterfall. Double click, and it's a droplet is what they call it. Droplets, but it's more of a chase feature. And then double click one more time, and it takes you to what they call neon fade, which is just fading through all the different colors. I'm not really sure why they included all these. I really wish it was just those two features. If I double click again, it'll go right back to the red flash, which I really like. But say, for example, you don't want the red. Let me turn it off and turn it right back on. If you press and hold the side switch, it'll start cycling through all of the colors right here. So if you guys want, say, blue right there, just let it go. Double click again, and now it flashes blue. Another smart feature is if I press and hold, and if I'm trying to get to a specific color, say right there, I like this color, but I just slightly miss what I was looking for. You let it go, and it'll go backwards, so you can just fine tune what color you're looking for. I think that is another smart choice, because if I want green and I just miss it right there, I don't want to keep holding it to cycle through all the colors again. All I have to do is let go, press the button again, and I can get right back to that green. And this flashing feature, coupled with this magnetic tail, is why I said this is going to be my new emergency flashlight for my car. Because it's not a weak magnet. It can hold all the body weight completely horizontal of the flashlight. So if you break down at night, get a flat tire, you can put it in that red flashing mode, stick this on the side of your car, and works as a nice emergency light. I really like this. And I know that's not a new feature in flashlights at all, trust me, but just something about this as a package I'm really digging right now. So now it's time for my not so scientific turbo test. Yes, I know it's usually a heat and turbo test, but I'm not testing the heat on this one. I unofficially tested this off camera for the heat, and it was about 93 degrees after about 2 minutes on turbo. So no gloves or anything like that. That is completely manageable. But regarding the turbo time, I can't really tell when I'm doing the test. So when I'm editing, I'll scrub through the footage and see exactly when it started to step down. And I'll put that on the screen right now, when it started to step down and when it ended that step down. All right, let's do the beam test. I'm going to start here on Moonlight, right there. I'm not going to spend too much time right there on Moonlight, so let's go right to low. Okay. You can already see it has a fairly wide hotspot right there, dead center. And not really hitting that tree yet on low. Not really expecting it to, but some lights do, some don't. But there we go. Now we're starting to hit. So there's medium, what I like to call the sweet spot. 150 lumens. I spend a lot of my time in medium and high on my flashlights. Very rarely do I go to turbo. Only when I'm really looking for something far away. You guys get what I'm saying, but that's not bad, hitting that tree. And trying to see that spill right there. Not really seeing much of a spill yet. You can kind of see a little bit of it right around that hot spot, but let's go to high right there. There we go. And as always, I'll put up the distance between me and that tree and me and the barn right there. And now I'm starting to see a little bit more of the spill right there on high. And the spill does go out pretty far. So it, even on the spotlight mode, which I'm on, it's still a fairly floody spot. I mean, obviously, all the candela is going to be right there in that hot spot. But if I hold it still and pan back and forth, you can see it does have somewhat of a floody spill, which is nice. I like that. And now let's go to turbo. Double click, and there's the 2000 lumen turbo. Not bad. Not bad. You can see the cool white color temperature. hardly any green in this LED at all. I know the luminous LEDs are known for that green tint, but I'm not seeing a lot of it, to be honest with you guys. Very nice. So I'm going to switch over to that flood mode, and I'm not really sure if I'm going to get much here. So let me just see. Press and hold. There's low, medium, highs. I'm going to stick right here in the high. And, not bad. You can see it does reach pretty far. Wow. Okay, let's go to turbo. Double click. That turbo is really bright, man. So that is very floody. Very nice and evenly spread is this flood. So that is decent. I'm not going to go into the color modes right here, but if I wanted to real quick, let me just show you this. Which way do I have this? Getting turned upside down. Let me go to the RGB modes right here. And, you know, there's no brightness level selection on these RGB modes, but that's the green right there. When I demonstrate this on my car, I'm going to go back to the red and show you what that red emergency light looks like, why I like this light so much. But that's here. Let's go into my garage, and I'm going to demonstrate this on the side of my car. So hypothetical situation right here. I break down at night, say my car gets a flat and I need to change it. So all I have is this light right here. So I can assess the situation with this flashlight with the spot mode, which is very nice. If I don't need the emergency light, all I have to do is flip it over to the floodlight mode and then just say stick it right there in my car, and now I have a nice little light to work by. Very nice. Or if I have a second flashlight in my car and don't need this floodlight, I could switch it over to the RGB mode right there, double click, and now I have my red flashers, and just put them right there on the back of my car to warn any oncoming traffic that, yeah, there's somebody here. So maybe put it in a different spot on my car, maybe right there. Let's see. That is pretty effective, actually. So very, very nice. So once again, this is why I like this flashlight so much. Spotlight mode, floodlight mode right there. Man, that's at 2,000 lumens bright. And then go right to the red, double click. Emergency flashers. Very, very nice. All right, what can I say? I'm a big fan of the Sofirn IF24, and I wasn't lying when I said this will be my new favorite emergency flashlight for my car. It has a lot of cool features, and I like how everything is wrapped up into one pretty decent little package here. I think the UI is great, very simple, easy to learn, and this rotating dial is one of my favorite things here. Easily switch from spotlight to flood to your RGB modes. I like it, and the easy lockout just by clicking right to the lock. Perfect. And on top of that, the price is fantastic. What is it? What, $40.99 right now on the Sofirn website? It's normally about $60, but right now it's on sale for $40.99 with the battery. That's insane. All of these features at that price, I mean, you really can't beat it, but it's not all perfect here. So what don't I like about it? Well, I wish there was some sort of notch or indicator right there on the lockout position, so I know exactly where that lockout is with my thumb without having to look at it. It's not a deal breaker, but I feel like it would be very useful. The next negative here is some of the useless gimmicky RGB features. I don't need the droplets or the police light or the changing rainbow colors. I mean, I'm never going to use those, and I feel like they're just in my way. Just let me pick my color, double click, and give me that flashing feature. That's all I need. And the last negative I have here is I don't really like the fact that the light turns on every time I turn the dial, even from off. So right now the flashlight is off, so if I switch it to spotlight mode right there, I don't want it to go on. I want the power button to turn it on. I just want to go to the mode to get ready to turn it on. The same thing with flood. I just want to switch it over to flood. I don't want to activate the light by going there. So let me turn to the mode I want to with the rotating dial and then press the button to activate it. Maybe you can fix that with a firmware update. I'm not exactly sure, but that's one thing I really want you guys to change here on the IF24. But that's about it. This will be my new flashlight that I carry in my vehicle at all times. I just love that red light emergency feature here and easily switching between spot and flood. This light has it all, really. And on top of that, the $40.99 price point. At $40, you can't pass this flashlight up. All right, guys, that's pretty much it for this video. What do you think of the Sofirn IF24? If you want to check this out for yourself, I will put links down below in my description box. But if you did enjoy this video, please give me that thumbs up. Please subscribe. And go!